So we await the start of the Gerry Cooney-Ken Norton fight live from here in Madison Square Garden in New York. Larry Merchant, you made a point at the top of the show where you talked about the fact that Ken Norton historically has had problems with bangers, and that certainly is what he's got tonight.
Well, everybody has to remember the fights against George Foreman in particular, because he was a young, very live heavyweight at that time, and he just sort of crumbled in front of George Foreman, went to the ropes, and Foreman just wore him down, destroyed him in the second round. And later against Ernie Shavers, in that period of time after he lost to Holmes, and in which he said that he wasn't taking much interest in boxing anymore, again, Shavers, a great banger, put him against the ropes and destroyed him in one round.
And you look at Ken Norton leaving his locker room now, heading down toward the ring, a very stern look on his face. One might even call the look that we see right here even more than stern, perhaps concerned.
I think it's a look of reality. He's waiting to get to the ring and get the job done.
So Ken Norton starting to make his way into the ring. Norton sweating profusely, and Ray, you've made the point before, that's very important, that a fighter get warm in the locker room.
Yes, Barry, a fighter must loosen up very well, because a lot of fighters start off early and they're not loosened up enough, and the body reacts very differently.
Let me ask you another hypothetical question, Ray. If you're Ken Norton, how do you fight this fight? Norton said in the Larry Holmes fight that he made a mistake in letting Holmes win the first few rounds. Now he's in a position where, in all honesty, I'm sure even he doesn't know if he can go the 10 rounds, so he may have to go out and get him early.
Well, he must go out and do damage early. I think he can intimidate Gerry Cooney. Cooney's young. Cooney never really been in with a guy like Ken Norton, and Ken Norton really has enough to get Cooney out of there, but you never can tell.
The criticism of Cooney, of course, if any criticism, it's hard to criticize a guy who's won 24 fights and knocked out 20 of his opponents, as you look at Ken Norton. Norton is a man right now in Never Never Land. He has got to go out and get this fighter. I think it's safe to say that it's just about over.
But I know, in a way, there's a much greater risk on the part of Gerry Cooney. He's making $1 million here, so whatever happens, you can't run any benefits for him. But on the other hand, he has big money purses already awaiting him as the #1 contender. And unless he takes out Norton quickly, they're going to say he's just not the prospect that everybody thought he was.
Well, as you see Cooney leave the locker room and head toward the ring himself, you look at his record, 24 wins, no losses. He has 20 knockouts, not the 14 that you just saw there. Cooney is a guy who unquestionably can punch. As a matter of fact, of those 20 knockouts, 10 of them have come inside of 2 rounds. So I think the first 2 rounds are going to be interesting here to see who dictates the pace of the fight.
His average fight has gone about 3.5 rounds. Stamina shouldn't be a problem for him here, even though he's never gone more than 8 rounds. This is only a 10-round fight. He's not fighting a fighter who's going to run a great deal from him. It's not a 15-round fight. In that case, you would seriously wonder how he would react in the late rounds.
Let me once again, Ray, ask you about the psychological aspects of the sport of boxing. Cooney has made Norton be the first one in the ring and wait for him. Is that an advantage?
Sometimes, especially here, I think by being a hometown favorite, it plays a role, a psychological role on your challenger's head.
Okay. Ken Norton, of course, is a guy who has aspired to the heavyweight championship for years and years. I think maybe Jerry Eisenberg of the New York Post put it best when he said, destiny always seems to sneak up on Ken Norton and kick him in his aspirations. So Norton is the man who now must await. Gerry Cooney's coming into the ring. He is about to do so now as he makes his appearance before the Garden crowd. The crowd comes to its feet singularly here to cheer on Gerry Cooney, who without question is the hometown favorite. He comes in clad in a green robe. All his handlers are in green. Gerry Cooney is the public choice, to be sure. Cooney, too, comes in looking very stern, very concerned at this juncture. This is a big shot for him. You look at the Garden crowd here. Cheering on Gerry Cooney. There is Don King, of course, one of the biggest and most powerful promoters here. And another onlooker who is ringside. We'll try to get a shot of him as time goes on. Many celebrities ringside here, but Joe DiMaggio was introduced to the crowd moments ago and drew the kind of applause that the Clipper always does draw here in the city of New York. He is still an idol, even some 20 years almost after his retirement, 30 years I should say, after his retirement from the game of baseball. So Ken Norton and Gerry Cooney just about to have at each other in this showdown fight. It is absolutely, even though I admit to it being a cliche, a must fight for Ken Norton, for Gerry Cooney. It is a fight he has to have if he wants a title shot. And that, of course, would be the next logical step for him. To the ring announcer now, and Jack leads the introduction to the fighters.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Madison Square Garden, the world's #1 sports and entertainment center, for tonight's 10-round heavyweight main event, sanctioned and supervised by the New York State Athletic Commission, Jack Prenderville, chairman. Your judges for the main event, Harold Letterman and Tony Castellano. The timekeeper is Fred Abatello. Counting for the knockdowns at the bell is Johnny Lobianco. And your rest. Ladies and gentlemen, here are the principals in tonight's 10-round heavyweight main event. In the corner, to my left, he hails from Los Angeles, California. He wears dark blue trunks trimmed in white. He weighs 225 pounds. Here is the former WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Ken Norton. His opponent in the corner to my right, undefeated in 24 professional fights with 21 knockouts. He hails from Huntington, New York, 225¼ pounds. He's decked out in all green with white and red stripes. Gentleman, Gerry Cooney. 10 rounds, final contest of the evening.
Most important thing, on my command break, stop pushing and stop back. If you score a knockdown, I want you to go to the farthest neutral corner, stay there until I tell you to come out. Right? 3 knockdowns in 1 round will end the fight. Now 40 seconds. The bell will not save anybody from being knocked out, all right? If a fight is on the floor, please don't come in. That calls for disqualification. I hate to do that. So stay away. Wait till the fighter gets up, then you can have him, all right? Any questions? Shake hands. Good luck to both of you.
Well, Ray Norton in his introduction borrowing a little something from the Sugar Ray Leonard playbook and doing a little dance and a little series of jabs as you look at the tail of the tape. Norton, 11 years the senior of Gerry Cooney, 6'6" to 6'3", big height advantage. The weight is just about comparable. So is the reach and all the other measurements. Round 1 underway. Norton on the right, Cooney on the left. The tactics of Ken Norton in the early rounds will be interesting to say the least. Whether he decides to pace himself, whether he decides to go after the #1 challenger. 10 rounds, 3 knockdown rule is in effect. The bell cannot save either man. A right hand buckled the knees of Norton by Gerry Cooney. First punch of the fight buckled Norton's knees. Left hand to the stomach, and another right hand to the side of the head of Norton, who stands on the ropes. Left hand to the heart by Cooney. Norton bangs away now at Cooney in Norton's corner. And another left hand scores, and again, the legs of Norton wobble. Norton is hurt in his own corner. Cooney trying to measure him. Misses 2 uppercuts, but scores with combinations of left hands. Norton straight up. Norton is about to drop. Norton is on his knees and finally slumps in the corner. He is not going to get up from this. The fight is over in 54 seconds. And if there was ever any doubt as to the punching power of Gerry Cooney, Ray Leonard, I think that doubt was put to bed right here.
Right. Cooney went out and did pretty much what I expected, but that was very dangerous when he was able to deliver 5, 6 blows, and the referee just stood there. I think the referee should have stopped the fight a lot sooner.
Norton was almost in a position where he was unable to fall down. He was kind of in a lodged position in his own corner. His knees never did touch, and so Cooney, of course, doing the right thing by just continuing to punch, but I think you make a very good point in that Tony Perez may have considered stepping in a little bit sooner than he did. Norton was out on his feet. Norton is still on the floor in his own corner. The first punch that hurt was the first punch of the fight, and it was a right hand that caught Ken Norton right on the side of the head.
Well, I was going to make a comment earlier about Gerry Cooney not having his perspiration on his body, that he had not warmed up. But as we can see, he didn't need to warm up because he possessed so much strength, and I'm pretty sure this is going to silence a lot of the critics that Cooney has one hand.
Well, I don't think there was any question about it. Right from the start of the fight, Cooney hurt Norton with the first punch. Now, I don't know, you may have to go back and you say, was Norton really prepared for this fight? Because the first punch of the fight buckled his knees.
Well, I'm quite sure Ken Norton was prepared for the fight. In fact, he's been in the ring with some of the all-time greats, and he knows what happens when you get into the ring unprepared. Ken Norton was in tip-top shape, and I'm quite sure he will give Cooney credit.
Now, you and I have had a chance to watch some of the great heavyweights. We've watched Larry Holmes together. Just off the top of your head, how would you compare Gerry Cooney right now with a Larry Holmes?
Well, Larry Holmes still has so much more physical attributes. Holmes can move, Holmes can punch, Holmes has a good jab. Whereas that, we really, I think, be very curious to see what Gerry Cooney can do with a guy that is mobile and really a good technician like Larry Holmes.
Well, of course, tonight is a great indication of the punching power of Gerry Cooney. There's no question about that. As far as stamina, how far he can go, what he would do against a champion like Larry Holmes, that still remains to be seen.
That's true, but what he exemplified tonight, I'm quite sure he's in the back of a lot of people's minds.
Right now, they have brought a stretcher into the ring to deal with Ken Norton, who is just now getting to his feet. There's no question that Ken Norton was literally out on his feet. We will try to get a report and give you a medical report on Ken Norton just as soon as that becomes available.
The punches that was delivered by Cooney and the leverage and balance that he had with him, I'm quite sure, I can almost say, guarantee that Norton, God forbid, has a concussion.
I think you can see that Ken Norton is conscious. He is sitting on his stool now. Commotion reigning all over the ring. More people in the ring, I think, than in the house here at Madison Square Garden. Gerry Cooney acknowledging some of the photographers standing up at the ringside. Acknowledging the crowd. He was unquestionably the crowd favorite. I think everybody, just looking at the people around here, Ray, everybody has kind of a shocked expression on their face that the thing ended as quickly as it did.
Know when to go.
We're up in the ring now.
Gerry, how early in that round did you hurt him?
Well, I hit him with a straight right hand. And I saw him back up along the ropes. So Victor told me to be cautious at all times. And if I see my openings to go in and work on, we worked as planned. Victor was training for I don't know how long, up in the Concord and New York here training, and told me the right thing.
Do you feel in some way, Gerry, that the quickness of this fight, excuse me, robs you in some way? That people will say that Ken Norton just couldn't fight anymore?
Doesn't matter to me anymore. I have my people here, my fans. We train hard. Mike Jones, Dennis Rappaport, Victor Valley, and myself. We just love him, that's all.
All right, what is next? Is Mike Weaver next for the WBA championship?
Left to my managers, Mike Jones and Dennis Rappaport and Victor
All right,
Valley.
Mike Jones here is nodding and saying that Mike Weaver will be your next opponent for the heavyweight championship. Would you explain to our audience why Mike Weaver instead of Larry Holmes?
Well, since I turned professional, I just do the fighting. My managers do the managing. My man here, Victor, gets me in shape. I just leave it that way.
Well, they must be doing a perfect job so far. Dennis Rappaport, would you tell us why is he fighting Mike Weaver instead of Larry Holmes?
We really didn't have a choice. Our first preference would have been Holmes. Holmes has refused to fight Cooney, in spite of what he said to the media, where he verbalizes one thing, but in fact and in truth, when it came time to sign a contract, he refused to, they never signed. King was supposed to get back to us 3 months ago. Me and Mike called him several times, never got back to us after a meeting where we were supposed to sign a contract.
Are you concerned that the critics will say, well, he's beaten another fighter of the 70s. He's now going a total of about 4 or 5 rounds with fighters from the 70s, but he hasn't fought a good young fighter yet.
Larry, if at the end of Gerry's career, he never goes more than 2 rounds, thank the Lord, and we'll be very happy. It'll prove that he's the greatest fighter of all time. Let the cynics ask the same questions when he's heavyweight champion of the world, because that's his destiny, the championship of the world.
Thank you very much. I'll be back in a few moments. I'm going to try to reach Ken Norton. Back to ringside.
All right, thank you very much, Larry Merchant. Larry is now working his way through some of the crowd to try to get to Ken Norton's corner. We will try to have a report just on what kind of condition Norton is in. If it is at all possible, we will try to get an interview with the loser. We right now are going to have an opportunity to look at the entire, when I say entire, I mean 54 seconds of this fight. There was just never a doubt about the outcome of the fight from the first punch that was thrown by Gerry Cooney, which was a right-hand lead. You heard him talk to Larry Merchant about it as it being a straight right hand. When it happened, I believe we said that the knees of Ken Norton buckled. And now let's take one more look. Ray Leonard, we're going to get a chance to see from the beginning of this fight right to the end of it, 54 seconds long. They started in the center of the ring, and you can see Norton really not going to that peekaboo kind of defense in the early rounds.
Well, Norton tried to see whether or not his left jab could do any damage to Cooney, and this is a very fast pace, especially for heavyweights.
Now the right hand from Cooney will come right there. The right hand, and you see the knees of Norton buckle just that quick. Great shot.
Well, Cooney possessed so much strength, so much power in his left hand and his right hand, as we see. And here he's just taking control of Ken Norton completely.
Now, right at that juncture, I think you saw that Ken Norton was a beaten man. He did all he could just to get off the ropes. But again, just a stinging left hand to the face right there. Now Cooney turns Norton around, and once he does that, he misses those two uppercuts. I think it was the last punch he missed.
Well, Barry, here we see a lot of punches being thrown, and right here, I think the referee should have jumped in. Look at the punches that are being thrown and landed.
Just a brutal beating in a very short space of time, administered by Gerry Cooney to the former champion Ken Norton. Ray, we're going to get another shot at this from a different angle. Let's look at it one more time.
Now you see the power that Cooney possesses as he throws that beautiful left hook. It's a very short and powerful left hook. And here Norton is basically trying to hold on because he is hurt. And Cooney's trying to get around him. In fact, he's doing a pretty good job of movement, gaining position, gaining leverage, and starting to take full control of the opportunity that he has here.
Now, he missed those two uppercuts, but after that, he did not miss a punch. There's one right here, one, and then two, and another punch that scores up on the shoulder, although at this juncture that could hurt. 3, 4, and 5 or 6 more punches before the referee, Tony Perez, finally stepped in and stopped the fight. There was always the question about the right hand. That question was answered tonight. Right now, Larry Merchant is up in the ring. Let's go to Larry, see if he has a report on Ken Norton. Larry?
Exactly 4 years ago tonight, Ken Norton ended the dreams of Dwayne Bobbick with a 58-second KO in the first round. I was here at the time, and I was thankful that I wasn't getting paid by the round. Here tonight, he lasted about twice as long, and that's all. This fight has been star-crossed from the very beginning when it was originally scheduled for a big MAPS promotion here at the Garden. It came back, and the only people who have been hurt worse than Ken Norton tonight have been Madison Square Garden's promoters, because the fight only drew about 7,000 or 8,000 people. The two fighters were promised a total of almost $2 million. There was nowhere near that here in the Garden tonight. Estimates that they may have lost up to $1 million. Now the heavyweight division stands something sort of like this. Larry Holmes is acknowledged and recognized, and rightly so, as the best heavyweight in the world. Right behind him, Mike Weaver, who is a WBA champion, and Gerry Cooney, who is the #1 ranked challenger. And two very promising youngsters right behind them, Mike Dokes and Greg Page, both unbeaten, both highly talented. I doubt, however, that Gerry Cooney is going to come out of this fight unscathed. He still hasn't beaten a live young fighter. Now we're going to go back to ringside with Ray and Barry.